right? So we got True Self, Peace, Peace, Free to Be Me, and Born Level Up. You know, a little bit early today. Let's see, I don't think the alerts went out. You know how they do me these days. How they do me. But in the meantime, has anyone seen these headlines? Shaquem, what's the deal? Yeah, it came on right after I got the the alert on my phone about Rayshard Brooks, the cop that killed him, has been charged with felony murder. The other guy is apparently cooperating, so he doesn't get charged with felony murder. L7 the law. So, once again, we see at least some kind of progress being made here in terms of people being held accountable for the things that they do. But so nobody in the room, because that's what I didn't see is what is felony murder equivalent to in other states? Like, is that murder one, murder two, and what kind of penalty does that carry? Because all of these things right here is what ends up being important. You know what I'm saying? Where guy gets convicted, but then he gets 4 years or something. One Lovelock said in Alabama, felony murder is a murder committed in the act or process of another crime being carried out. So this is equivalent to murder 2 then. So no, Free to Be Me is saying this is a murder 1 death. No, there's no such thing as misdemeanor murder, but there's
It's 5 o'clock.
Depending on what state you in, you got murder, homicide, negligent homicide, manslaughter 1, manslaughter 2, manslaughter 3. That is basically all about the different circumstances surrounding the death. But no, there's no misdemeanor murder. So this charge that the officer is facing is life without parole if he's convicted. Well, there's one other option, True Self, where he doesn't get convicted. But that's what it looks like. Born Love is saying that if he gets convicted, he's looking at life or the death penalty. See, that's going to have a great effect on, like I said, who's even ready to be a cop. So it carries the death penalty if more than 3 felonious crimes were violated in commission of committing the murder. Well, I don't know if they're going to get that out of this. So Born Love said felony murder is equivalent to premeditated murder because it's deemed you went in to commit a crime and are willing to go to whatever extreme to get away with it, be it rape and or murder. Okay, so what would they be saying is the original crime though?
There you go.
Peace. Which way we going over there?
Yeah, gave you all your space you need. That should be good, right?
Good God, this is the only one I found. It's the extra large.
All right, you get that one.
That's big.
All right. You good.
So yeah, is there any word or did anybody? Well, I know All in the Business check it out because All in the Business is always up on the news about things of this nature. But what is the original crime? Felony murder is when you commit another felony while committing murder. 3 felonies that get you the death penalty. So, right, he kicked him after he shot him. All right. So you're saying, all right, so now Born Leveler is saying one of the things that we talking about where, you know, you playing with a little legal loophole right there where, you know, if he's saying that he didn't commit any original crime or there was no intent to commit the crime, then he beats this case. Possible hate crime. And so what is the protocol? Because, you know, in some states, they're allowed to return an array of verdicts. And in some states, they locked in to whatever was the charge that's on the docket. Like, is this a state where they can say, all right, well, you innocent of the felony murder, but you're still guilty of, because they said it was 3 charges that they could give him. That's what the district attorney was saying from when I first started researching the case. And what about those other cases out in LA with the brothers getting hanged? The brothers that was found hanged, did they make any progress with those cases all in the business? L. Lowry, one half of the L brothers. Okay, so All in the Business said this charge could drop all the way to manslaughter, which is 2 years on probation to 20 years. Murder due to discrimination is a hate crime. So I guess somewhere in here, they got to prove that the actions of this cop, right, was not according to the police protocol. Like, it wasn't, if it wasn't according to policy, they saying that this was a Because remember, you got illegal and you got unlawful. So they saying that this is not a lawful arrest.
Yeah, yo, Pigs, what's happening, man? All right, that's what's up, man. Talk to me, man. Let's talk about the
show.
food.
It should be
Okay.
a
Well,
system.
I ain't even back yet.
Saying GLG. So L7 said it should be a system put in place that holds cops responsible for their crimes and actually see that justice is served. Well, that's what we're gonna be getting into. I just wanted to see these type of questions right here concerning this case. Because we got to stay on top of the ball with these things. We can't just say, well, everybody got charged. We can all go home now. Right? They open the cases back up. Now, look, I've been seeing that is another thing. I've been seeing them going back maybe like 4 to 5 years and opening a couple of cases. I've been seeing them go back a couple of years and open up cases now. But yeah, L7, what you're saying, that was the second part of the title of the live, right? Is Trump's I would call it so-called, I would consider it so-called Trump's police reform. What was it? It's not a bill. It's a executive order. His executive order concerning the police reform. So we're gonna touch on that topic too. But and what about the cops in the Breonna Taylor situation? Because right now, not too many officers is getting off the hook. Lowry says felony murder in Illinois, I believe, is first degree murder carrying a minimum of 20 years and a maximum of natural life. So it appears that they trying to make some kind of deal out of this. They trying to. This is an issue. So we had to see what happens. So they're looking at their behavior after the shooting as aggravating factors. Hold on 1 second, yeah. Peace. Nah. Oh. All right. Yeah. I'm here. All right, bitch. So we got Daniel VB. Daniel VB, elbow cough, elbow cough, elbow cough. Are you the one reporting my lives, Daniel? Getting my lives taken down? D. Christian said they trying to open up Sister Carasol's case in which she was fired with no pension after 19 years for stopping an officer from choking someone in custody. So this is a case of somebody who, you saying this is somebody who kind of broke the thin blue wall of silence and they was made to pay the price. So now they opening her case back up for consideration. SW. Seven third said we could look forward to Trump saying that he fixed the problem of police brutality against blacks. I mean, well, you know, we get into what he had in his bill. We get into that in a minute. Free to Be Me says it's gonna be open season on black people. Well, like I said, I think, you know, there's gonna be a season where they kind of pull back and say, listen, if you don't want the cops around, let's see how you do without us. You know what I'm saying? But right now, just in this current climate, it's too dangerous to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, for me, this time period is looking somewhat like Reconstruction. You know what I'm saying? Where for a period of time, that wasn't cool. You know, when the Union Army was around, and you know, they wanted to be the only power, so you know, you can't go around at night and be hanging people. We not. So right now, it's going to be a season where everybody's going to have to be aware that, you know, if you do something to a black person, you know what I'm saying, it's going to be some repercussions. And Daniel, you better stop reporting my lives. All right, so D. Christian said this happened in Buffalo, New York. This happened in Buffalo, New York, where the officer, but see, that's, I think, where is it? In Georgia, that's the law now. Or that's something that they just passed, is that the officer is obligated to intervene. You know what I'm saying? So, like, if you have a situation like George Floyd, the other officer is required now to intervene. One Love said, looking at it, seems officers are getting pressed. Warn you, truth to show and prove comes when they are actually behind bars as they do us. Not that slick Oliver North, Martha Stewart stuff. Which Martha Stewart is a stand-up. She's a stand-up white woman. You know, when the police talked to Martha Stewart, she said, "What stocks?" You know, a lot of people, a lot of cats walking around talking about they gangster right now could learn a lot from Martha Stewart. Oliver North, for that matter, too. You know what I mean? He did the crime, he did his time. But you're right about that. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I just seen that too, Free to Be Me, that this thing is so out of hand that Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben's have been canceled for being racist tropes. Apparently Miss Butterworth is in some trouble right now too. You got Martha Stewart Towers, huh? So that's definitely something, man. We gotta keep our eyes on. We gotta see what's going on with that, man, and what's the you know uh all of these cases. We got quite a few cases to keep our eyes on right now because that's what they waiting on too for that next distraction. Not saying that that there's some grand conspiracy and plan, but they're waiting for there to be some kind of big distraction. If there's a big enough distraction where they're able to sweep all this stuff under the rug, that would be all right. Now, D. Christian, this is another level of it right here. He said, "Can I get a decent loan now? A nice APR. Can I get non-predatory? Can I get a non-predatory mortgage loan in the name of Black Lives Matter?" Those is the other steps. What I'm saying? Now you're getting into, even to the degree like when they say, well, what about black on black crime, right? When they say, what about black on black crime, uh, and what about crime, just in general in our community? These are the type of things, these are the type of, you know, uh, poverty producing, these are the kind of poverty producing things that we've been having to deal with, right? That puts us in this situation. You understand what I'm saying? Where, like I said, you got a lot of people that's, uh, they want to judge people by the looting and things of that nature. You understand what I'm saying? You know, you can't separate what's been happening right now, right? With what is the, you can't separate what's happening right now with what is the method and strategies and tactics that they chose to deal with our community for the past 50 or 60 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure every city has a little bit of unique story. You know what I'm saying? But in New York, they started building the suburbs out in Jersey. You got Levittown, in Long Island. They started building all of these suburban communities, and you started getting the white flight, right? And you started getting something called benign neglect. You know what I'm saying? And what that means is, we're gonna pull the plug. We're not gonna, go in and necessarily arrest everybody or try to give everybody a political status that'll make them targets. However, we're going to pull the plug on all the resources. The hiring of teachers, the hiring of firemen, all of the things that would help to improve this community. We're not going to do that. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to come with any type of education or jobs program like they're doing right now. You understand what I'm saying? When they have the bailouts, or like when they had the New Deal, right? And you had, in fact, Trump is talking about that right now. Infrastructure projects, where this is in employment program, right? Or dealing with the New Deal with FDR, that was an employment program for all the white people that got put out of work in the Great Depression. You know what I'm saying? When they decided, look, we're not going to do none of that. We're just going to cut these people loose, put them on their own, you know what I'm saying? And survival of the fittest, whoever makes it, we lock them up. You know what I'm saying? We put them in a situation where it's survival of the fittest, and whoever survives, we lock them up. You understand what I'm saying? You know, so all of these things is what's coming out right now. You know what I'm saying? When you talk about the disparity in the outcomes of law enforcement, you talk about the disparity in the medical outcomes. You understand what I'm saying? For instance, how they were saying that the coronavirus affected the Black community more than any other community. All of this is a product of the way they've been dealing with us for the last 60 years. I'm saying that was a new kind of program. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't slavery. It wasn't sharecropping. You know what I mean? It was a kind of inner city colonialism. You know what I'm saying? So what you're saying right there in terms of stopping the redlining, you know what I mean? That's another step, you know, when it comes to the hereafter. How do we avoid getting back to this place right now? Yeah, those kind of things have to happen. You understand what I'm saying? Because, like I said, you got all these suburban communities that was built up with government money. You know, FHA loans, Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae loans. You understand what I'm saying? You know, that's an excellent point to bring up. We got Daniel. Daniel VB said the officer, he's going for life. At first, I thought it was right. It was righteous shooting, but after the conference today, I totally changed my mind. But there's an agenda going on. I think they want the police to resign so they can cause a race war. A race war or martial law, I believe. I mean, don't y'all think y'all a little bit late for that? Or is there like a level of race war that you're talking about? You know, like when you got guys being hanged from trees, you know, and we're not talking about Pigeon Lake, Arkansas. We're talking about Los Angeles, California. You know, when you got, you know, guys coming out in Philadelphia with assault rifles to defend the statue of Christopher Columbus, and you say that you think it's going to be a race war, makes, you know, it seems like maybe you're a little bit behind. You know, you know, we always gotta ask ourselves, who would this benefit if there was a race war or martial law? Free to be me. So the colored couple who called the police on the brother who painted Black Lives Matter on the front of his house lost their jobs because of the video. Yeah. And you know, that's another thing that you're seeing where, you know, people are doing things that was perfectly okay last month. Like that was perfectly okay last month for you to make that video and film it and put it out. But I would, you know, want to ask you, Daniel and L. Lowry, right? what do you think is the possibility that the agenda that's going on, right, is not the government's agenda? What do you think is the possibility of that? Like, what do you think is the possibility that this is actually something that's spiraling out of control? They got education. L7, so I think it's simple. Defund the departments so that cops don't outnumber the pedestrians. The more cops on the streets, the higher the crime rate is going to be. I mean, they already don't really outnumber the people. It's just the mentality of the people, right, is a lot based on separation, because these are the separations that they put out there in society for us. This is the nature of how they was created. So they understand that their success is based on separation. And like I said, when you have an elite group, a small elite group that they're actually defined by the fact that there's 1% of them. They necessarily always have to be concerned with the 99%. This appears to be an extremely dangerous strategy. Like, if this is, there's a whole bunch of ways, right, that they can have martial law instituted and not lose targets all over the country. So, you know what I'm saying? Who's Geppetto on this? Who's Geppetto? Who's pulling the strings? They got education. So a lot of us are asking and dealing with incompetent things and taking, first of all, racial war, loan mortgages, things of this nature are futile. We need to be focused on re-education, research, results, and resources. Yeah, I agree with that. That self-preservation is the first law of nature. So, to say that there's going to be a reaction, right, to whatever we do, like if you see protesting out there in the street, you have people who, like I said, their livelihood is based on the separation of the people. Their livelihood is based on the ignorance of the people. It's based on, the oppression of the people. Of course they're going to react. Of course they're going to put cops on the street and try to negate that from happening, because of the simple fact that this is how they make their living. So we gotta expect that. But what I'm saying is that, and that's with anything. That's with anything. This is, even in sports, when you make a change, it's safer to hand the ball off to the running back than it is to throw it. See, because once you throw it, now you don't have possession of it anymore, and anything can happen. Now, of course, you get the best two players that you can find. You get the best two players that you can find, right, to try to ensure that the wrong thing doesn't happen. But in reality, like A-God Education is saying, now's our time to lock in on the ball and get this interception and take it back to the house. Now's not the time to look at the stats of their number one receiver. Christian said, when have we not been at a race war, it's transformed from chains to more underhanded, not so covert tactics. The only thing now is to truly get prepared for the hereafter. Yeah, you know, time has been marked right now where we know that, it's not going to go back to how it was. Yeah, El Lowry, that's what we was talking about. The charges that came against that cop in the Rashard Brooks murder. Yeah, fly phrase. You had in Philadelphia, guys came out with assault rifles to defend the statue of Christopher Columbus. Apparently, in New Mexico, somebody got shot by some individuals who was protecting a statue of a Spanish, like a conquistador or something. So I'm not familiar with his name because he's not a part of the English C lesson number one. But yeah, apparently that happened. Somebody got shot. So Daniel VB said, I think it's the left. So you think it's the, like when you say left, because at this point in time, this is what I'm saying, there's so much separation. They call it polarization. So which left are you talking about? Are you talking about the Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden left? Or are you talking about the AOC, Ilhan Omar left? Larry said, I think they're just waiting for us to shoot back. I mean, you think they really want that? But you're positive that this is the devil's work. How can you be so positive? Down south, Godbody came in. Khalil O is new to the room. Where you from, Khalil O? Now, Larry said, I think it's the agenda of the government. They're showing us they don't want to see. They're showing us that they don't want to see, and it ain't no love. I mean, it's possible. I'm not ruling it out. I'm not ruling it out by a long shot. But, like I was saying on the live earlier, a lot of the things that I'm seeing appear to be a law world manifest. Sometimes I think we've seen a little too much Alex Jones. We've watched a little too much of these conspiracy shows, right? And we don't look at it in the context of history. I'm saying in the context of history, the things which I'm saying haven't panned out for the people in power. Like I'm saying, if you match this up with the American Revolution, the French Revolution, the Haitian Revolution, the Russian Revolution, it doesn't coincide with the things that y'all saying. You know, I think if you only go back to like 1968 and you look at what happened after the Martin Luther King riots, then it might fit a little more perfectly. But, you know, there's a reason why, right? If you notice, the American mainstream is afraid of what they call populists and populism. There's a reason for that. Hey, God, education. You know, yeah, sometimes, you know, we gotta, I try to get everybody on the same page, man, so that we can take that action and the action can be in unison. You know what I'm saying? And not just a whole bunch of uncoordinated activity that doesn't really, you know, we apply a lot of force, but we don't really do no work. You know, that's what could easily happen if we're not organized. Daniel said we fight wars with each other while aliens prepare for us. So you saying that Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden wanted to be martial law? I mean, any idea why they might want that? AOC, you know, she's around supporting the protesters wherever she's at. Who knows? Lowry said, I don't understand how we're going to depend on parts of the system to fight each other for us, or do we have it all, or do I have it all? Well, I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, that's what happened in the Civil War. That's what happened, you know, in the 60s with civil rights. You know, I wouldn't say depend on them to do it for us, but just realizing that, you know, their society is based on separation. You know what I'm saying? It's like, look, when you walk in the projects, right? You look at it as this is the projects. Like all of these people are together, but those people don't really like each other like that. You understand what I'm saying? They appear to be one group from the outside. But you could even look at some individual groups. You could look at some groups where all the people who claim to be the same, they have the same name, right? And it's not really that much unity between them. This is what they've been doing the entire time. Daniel VB said it's the devil because violence is evil. Well, you got to define that. You got to define violence is evil. I mean, wouldn't the violence have to be on the side of the people? The violence would have to be on the side of the people for the devil's plan to be working, though, wouldn't it? Christian said, I think we give too much credit to said devil. This devil who is all pervasive really don't want what's taking place in these streets and new laws implemented to disrupt their comforts. Yeah, you know, that appears to be a big thing. You know, how far most people are willing to how far most people are willing to accept that the devil will go in order to achieve his goal. You know, like most people that I see talking this martial law stuff, they're under the impression that, look, Bill de Blasio doesn't care about his daughter who got arrested at the protest. He doesn't care. He's perfectly willing to sacrifice her to keep black people down as if black people was up. Some of these things, when we follow all of this out, you got people that are saying that George Floyd is not even really dead because that's how deep the plan goes to establish martial law. Like at some point, we get to a point where you're telling me that everything that I see and hear is not real. And at that point, I got to jump off the ship with you. And you got to give me some concrete stuff, or I might as well go back to Christianity, right? Because that's basically what you're telling me, that we have an all-powerful devil, right? And that, we might as well wait for Jesus to come and save us. Like if you can't even look and say, okay, this is his plan, but he has these particular flaws in his plan that we can take advantage of if we move right now. If we make a move right now, we can take advantage of the weakness. How do you think there's been different, like I said, maybe some of this history you're saying maybe it goes back too far. Maybe you're saying this history that I'm speaking is irrelevant. But listen, why do you think there's what they call the world superpower? The world superpower in 1500 wasn't the same world superpower in 1600. See, in the 1500s, you had the Portuguese and the Dutch and the Spanish. You know what I'm saying? In the 16 and the 1700s, you get the French and the British. The 1800s, the British kind of rocked that. And then at the end of the 1800s, coming to the 1900s, you get the Americans and then you get the Russians. What I'm saying is they have a history of fighting each other. So when you say, depending on them to fight each other, that's what they do. They broke out in arguments when Musa tried to civilize them. All in the business today are conservative by nature, not preservative. That means they can't live without us, but they have to destroy to thrive. What's this? So a guy said that's what they know, and they seeking to subvert us from achieving in reality. Yeah, that's So all of the business of martial law to them means going out with a bang. Do they really want to go out? They're not fighting for us. They're fighting to stay amongst us. Yeah, that's true. They got to fight to stay amongst us. But when we in a situation, right? When listen, you selling cigarettes, we're gonna kill you. I mean, what's to institute? Like, how much more martial do they have to get? You know, you playing in the park, we're gonna drive up and shoot you dead. You know, we're gonna put our knee on your neck and choke you to death. Like, how much more martial can you get? You know, like you got martial law, you got corporal law. Corporal means you'll get hurt. Martial means you'll be killed. So what's the next level? If anything, they've lost martial law during this time. Larry said, I feel like us making them stop killing us, they only going to find new ways to kill us and for them to be protected like they always have been. Yeah, but see, Larry, my thing is the difference between now and all those other times, you know, the point A guy education is trying to get across is that we have knowledge now. You know, can a devil fool a Muslim? No, not nowadays. That's the bottom line. That's what A guy education is saying, that, you know, there is never going to be a time, right, where they're not going to try to subjugate us. This is what Yaqub, who is the father of the devil, taught them to do. And this is the forgotten trick knowledge that Musa came to teach them, that he learned from Yaqub. That time is never going to exist. Christopher Gooden came in. So Daniel said violence to oppress people. All in business said violence towards the innocent is not right. The $1 million question is who's right. Smell Goods came in. Well, who's innocent, Bobby? Who's innocent? Well, in which ways are you seeing violence to oppress people right now? Because, like I said, you know, one thing I noticed is that the coverage, you know, when we first was looking at it, you could see a lot of the news stories and everything. You could see it in real time as it was occurring. You could see it in real time. And as time went on, right, less and less news stories you get to see in real time, and you just see the polished up main extreme story afterwards. So there could be other things happening that I'm not aware of, you know, but it would appear that those who have been oppressing all this time are the ones, you know, they the ones that's getting it right now. See, because you got to remember, you know, just like I said earlier, look, there's events that happen in the course of time that mark time, and everything after that is going to be totally different. Now you're dealing with the hereafter, right? Now look, we can't take fasting and praying on face value. See, because if you just fasting and praying just in the face value format of it, right, then you setting up home, waiting for a mystery God to come and save you. So the fasting and praying, there must be something more to that. that you will see the hereafter. There's something you have to do in order to be able to make it past that marker of time. How do you make it into the hereafter? This means that these things that you're saying, yeah, you need to analyze them. That's why I said it's not that you don't, take all things into consideration. But remember, when you running your race, the only reason you want to know where the hurdles is so you can get over them. You don't want to know where they are so that you can say, oh, well, I ain't racing. You want to know where they are so that you can run over them with the most, in the smoothest fashion possible. So that's why you need to look at that. Okay, if that's what you think is coming, right? Martial law, then your duty, well, your name is Daniel VB, but the way you're speaking, our duty as 5%, right, is to go out there and teach the people, right, how they have to activate in this time right now to save their life and achieve freedom, justice, and equality for all human families. So that's why you got to analyze these things. You see what I'm saying? Because, everything what you're saying right now, if martial law does get instituted, right, where's it going to look the worst at? It's going to look the worst in Compton, in the South Bronx, in North Brooklyn, South Chicago, Miami, that's where it's going to look the worst. Oakland, the places that's our communities, if this is what they're going to do, martial law, it's going to hit our communities, right, like nuclear bombs. So that's why it's important for us to understand this. See, because you said there's an agenda going on. See, just because there's an agenda going on doesn't mean everybody can't have an agenda. You see what I'm saying? See, because, we deal with certain things, when you talk about the white man being a devil and all this, he was born from a determined idea. See, that idea determined what he was going to live out and what he was going to do. So we got to have a determined idea. This is what happened many of the other times that we fought for freedom, justice, and equality. We didn't have a determined idea about the hereafter, about what we was going to do. And when you don't have a determined idea, what happens is there's other people out there who have determined ideas, and they need flunkies. They need flunkies to help their determined idea come off. And if you don't have your determined idea, right, established and in focus, right, you don't know how to renew the history of that idea, right, by taking away what didn't work and doubling down on what did work. When you don't know how to do that, then it's easy for you to become a flunky in somebody else's idea. See, it can be anything. See, you go to school, right? If you don't know what you're going there for, you can end up being absorbed into all different types of groups and activities, right, that you or your parents never would have dreamed that you was doing. So, I'm not, challenging you, in terms of whether we right or wrong. What I'm challenging you is that as a 5%, right, and just not even as a 5%, like I said, from your name, I can't really tell, but, the savior of whatever group of people always comes from that group of people. Whoever, when you look at all these, see, like in the Haitian Revolution, Toussaint was Haitian. In the American Revolution, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, all these dudes was American. I mean, don't get me wrong, they was British, but I'm saying they was of this American faction of the British Empire at that time. You might get some allies in there. And see, Harriet Tubman was one of us. You know, and when you look around, look, Gandhi, he was one of the people, he was one of those that he saved. So as a 5%, you got to realize that whatever's going to happen, whether it's going to be martial law or not, it's going to be our knowledge and wisdom that save our life, right? And allows us to remain civilized and have freedom, justice, and equality. So yeah, I don't know how y'all got Smell Good started. Down South Godbody said, right, we give them the power. The majority of black people are scared and brainwashed. Most don't know it. Yeah. You know, and I mean, look, rightfully so. You know, we've seen a lot of things. You know, if you've seen Fred Hampton's, you know, if you've seen the pictures or the video of Fred Hampton's house, you know, after the police went there, you know, these things are not irrational. You know what I'm saying? These things are not irrational for a person to understand that, you know, all of this is on the table. But, you know, when you got a glass that's half empty, it's also half full. And where you focus at is what's going to be important to you. That's what's going to seem like the biggest factor. I've been talking too long again today. So yeah, beautiful life. Yeah, you know, that's what I'm saying. These things become religious. You know what I'm saying? You know, what I'm saying is, look, the 85% know that it rain, hail, snow, or also hear thunder above their heads, right? Meaning that they see the reality of it. You know, when you see the rain, hail, snow, you know, and also hear the thunder, this is reality. But then you blame it on something that's not real. You blame it on something that you can't see, invisible. And that's what ends up happening, you know what I'm saying, when we see all these things and don't realize that the power is in us to overcome it, rather, you know, whatever level of realness you see it at. The power is in us to overcome it. So that's, see, I don't know if you were, I don't think you was on the live yesterday, but that's what I've been challenging people at the end of every one of my lives the last couple of days, right? Is what is your plan? You got to come up with a plan. If you think it's going to be martial law, okay, but you need to come up with a plan. Because like I said, they're not going to institute the martial law in Mark Zuckerberg area. They're not going to be, you know, going up to Bill Gates' house and knocking on the door and saying, yeah, we just wanted to let you know that it's martial law out here right now. That's going to happen on Fulton Avenue. That's going to happen on Crenshaw. That's going to happen on 125th Street. Yes, I mean, that's going to happen on O Block. That's not going to happen in their neighborhoods. That's going to happen on Martin Luther King Boulevard around the nation. Although, you know, I was somewhere, not very recently, I was somewhere and Martin Luther King Boulevard went through a white area. First time I ever seen that. I don't know if I could just be out the loop, but that's the first time I ever seen Martin Luther King Boulevard go through a white area. And maybe it was recently regentrified or something. I can't call it, but I saw that for the first time in my life. Then you said the fact is we've all been slaves since the day we were born. I mean, look at your passport. Is a number. That's our slave number, which means we're slaves to the states. And so, and also don't forget tax. I mean, well, listen, depending on what you're going by, you know, like if you're going by just the, how would you say, the, you know, kind of the legal precedents, the Emancipation Proclamation, the 13th Amendment, and the 14th Amendment also, right? The 14th Amendment becomes important, and what you're saying is that the slaves was transferred from private ownership to public ownership. Remember, a lot of those slave masters, they got money for the slaves. They got the, you know, whatever it was determined at the time was the value of the slaves. A lot of them got paid for the slaves that they let go. So, yeah, what you're saying, you know, but that's if you're going according to that. See what I'm saying, Daniel? You got to understand that, well, like I said, I'm not sure if you're 5%, but, you know, dealing with this same topic, you're saying of being slaves, right? Just sticking with that topic. You know, one of the ways, right? One of the tactics that they used in order to pull us into slavery, right? To draw us into slavery was promising us that we was going to make more money for this labor that we was about to do with them in a different country. If you come with me, you're going to get more than what you're getting right here. More GOLD, gold. See, when you realize that freedom, justice, and equality, right, and the supreme knowledge itself was the GOAL, gold. And that we achieved that when the law manifested science out here so that we could be free. We can't be slaves and be on the plantation thinking like this. You can't. You can't be a slave and have that much thoughts. Just by, that's what master means. I do the thinking, you do the lifting. So, you know, those things are factors. But you still got to balance that with the fact that we know who we are. And we know what that passport is. So the question is, how can we activate that? That's what we got to look at. How can we activate that? See, because at the end of the day, you can say whatever you want to say about the Antifa and the Black Lives, but listen, they getting into that action, boss. We can't just be sitting back, analyzing the situation and not getting into no action. You know what I'm saying? We can't be, see, that's a little bit hypocritical and a little bit bitch ass. You understand what I'm saying? When you just standing back saying, well, what they doing is not adequate. You know, well, they just protesting, or they just rioted, or they just loot. But see, you got to be doing something too. You understand what I'm saying? You got to be doing something. You got to be executing your plan, or you just a hater. D. Christian said, let's be real, the devil can't handle seeing his own laid out in a pool of blood. This race war ends immediately after loved ones get taken out. They only bullies with burdens, but when But when the rabbit got a gun, it ain't no fun. Hey guys said, I see that when we take them out by any or all means, their wives, children, then they will know enough is enough. But it has to be a national united thing, not a here and there thing. Yeah, and you know something, he got hit on a point right there too. And I think that that's one of the things that's happening right now is that a lot of times we want to go at the whole system. And don't get me wrong, that's right, exactly. But see, also we got to deal with the individuals in that system. See, individuals are the pillars that uphold that system. You see, that's what I'm saying about just the police being held accountable, right, for a lot of things they're doing as individuals. See, when the police come out and say, well, this is our policy, and that's the system protecting these individuals. But see, when they know that, look, no matter what happens with the system, there's going to be a price for you to pay. See, that changes a lot. That changes a lot. See, that's what happens when cats start snitching. See, when they was all together and everybody was triumphant and you came off with whatever you was doing, but see, when you get in that cell by yourself and you realize that you're the one that's going to have to pay for this. Now, like D. Christian said, the rabbit got the gun, it's not so much fun. You see what I'm saying? But I agree with that 100%. And that's one of the things that's happening right now with the people hitting the streets. They calling out these individuals. We know who you are. Like, see, in Georgia, well, wait, was that Georgia? Or no, that was Minneapolis. When they went to the officer's house, now we know you in there. Like, the system can do what they want to do. But you, my friend, are going to have to deal with this. That makes a big difference. It makes a difference in even who's willing to sign up to do the oppression. See, because remember, the social aspects, the economic aspects, the mental aspects, and all of this, that takes place up at the top. But the people who actually physically enforce this stuff, right, is the poor masses. So, like, the person who's going to redline your house where you can't get no loan, you're never going to see him. But the dude that burns a cross in your yard, see, this has been the whole thing of white privilege the whole time. You know what I mean? You got the white sheet on your head, you know what I'm saying? And you got the backing of the entire town, you know what I'm saying? Half of the night riders work for the police department. Then you don't have to worry about paying the price for that individually because you're a part of the system that's going to take care of you. Larry says, so where's the water for us to fight their fire? Again, man, everything came from an idea. That's one of the things that they, impressing on you over and over, right, about the devil, when they tell you about Yaqub and Musa. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you get to the culture degree, it says, why do we run Yaqub and his mate devil? When we know that Yaqub didn't exist physically at that time, right? You it's being impressed on us that everything comes from an idea. And so that's what I'm saying right now. It's the ideas that have to come from within us. Remember, I don't know if you was on the live when I was speaking about how that's what a lot of this entertainment does. It destroys your ability to have unique ideas. You see what I'm saying? See, when kids play games today, right? The only imagination you really use is the imagination of the people who designed the game. And you can only play within the parameters of those people. See, back in the days, people played the game. Yeah, it might be the same game of basketball, but over there, they don't play with fouls. You know, on another court, there might not be no outs. You know, on this court, the line might be out, but then if some other brothers is playing, like the big brothers is playing, the fence might be out, or the wall is out. Or you would go on different blocks, and just the way they said any, mini, mighty, mo, when they was picking the sides, right, would be a little bit different. You know, all of those rules, that's the kids of that area putting their heads together and deciding how they want to play with their creative power. You know what I'm saying? When you playing with little plastic soldiers this big, right, you got to make all the sound. You got to say, take that hill. Wait, this enemy shoot. See, all that's your imagination developing. You don't get to do that now. That's it. We got to tap into those ideas that's in us. That's what the science of mathematics does. You see what I'm saying? Once we internalize it and then we practice how to use it through 120, that's what we develop. The ability to see things, a clear picture in ourselves, right? And the power to manifest it. The water you're going to use is the wisdom that you gain, yes, I mean, through acquiring knowledge for your whole life, but specifically since we've been dealing with supreme mathematics. Same way you could take, you know, the 1 and the 7 from today's degree and born, build, destroy with it. You got to be able to take the facts and the circumstances of all reality around you, right, and formulate that into something that bring about freedom, justice, and equality. You know, because that's all that they doing. There's no secret sauce. They either look at a condition and take advantage of it, or they create the condition and take advantage of that condition and those people who is victims of that condition. The Christian said, I wasn't raised up in the era where colored folks was something to be fearful of. I know factually they weak and wicked and burst every time of depression. All of these is factors. That's what I'm saying. You know, they can have an agenda all they want. But let's see what happens to their plan when they get hit. Right? They got education said history is being written right now. It's a civil revolution. The people are coming together and manifesting their power. See, that's an example of what I'm saying. The people are doing it with just arm, leg, arm, head. Just with their physical bodies being out there, making noise, taking down statues, whatever it is, they having an impact. Then you say, while they are planning, they don't realize that God is the best of planners. While they think those plans are theirs, is actually God's plan. And see, that's what I'm telling you is that, the way the teachers came to me is that the uniting of the seeds was a step in the stage, right, on the way to us achieving freedom, justice, and equality. Hold on 1 second, y'all. The older guy stopped by real quick. Right. See, A guy education is hitting one of my points right here again. You know what I'm saying? That, at this point, to say that there's going to be a war, say that, things are going like, no, it's already, the only difference is we ain't hit back. But we get hit every day. You know what I'm saying? Like right now, like I said, we got cases that was closed years ago. I've been seeing cases, 4 or 5 years old of police brutality that was swept under the rug. You know what I'm saying? Even with the situation that's going on in LA with the brothers that they found hanging from the trees, this happened before. Even with the Ahmaud Arbery situation, that happened like 2 months before I was aware that it happened. The Breonna Taylor situation. You know what I'm saying? But again, what I was saying with uniting the seeds is that, that was always a power, right? Of, a lot of our best leaders had that characteristic. You know what I'm saying? From Fred Hampton to Allah, even Malcolm X, you know what I'm saying? They had the ability to unite the seeds. Smell Good said this is what all the building has been for. Larry says, so then is our knowledge the water to fight their fire? I'm trying to get an understanding because I feel like I don't understand. Well, our wisdom is the water. The wisdom is our wise words and our wise ways and actions. See what I'm saying? There's not, we're not going to be saved by a concept or idea. Well, we're going to be saved by a concept and idea, but not by that alone. It's not like, the word civil rights or the concept of civil rights could save us. There's got to be some action behind that. There's got to be an agenda to take advantage, right, of whatever leeway it is. And like I said, we just look historically and see that that's what's happened. We get freedom from slavery, and not everybody takes advantage of the opportunity. What happens in the 60s, we not in a position to take advantage of whatever opportunity arises from what we accomplish. You see what I'm saying? And this is another good point right here, A guy education is making, right? 100 years from now might be the time when all of this comes into fruition. See, like I said, man, you got a lot of people that seem very successful in their lifetime, right? In a short period of time, they seem very successful. But at the end, we find out that they failures. See what I'm saying? Like you got guys in, this is a frivolous example, but you got guys in baseball, for instance, right? That you hit a whole bunch of home runs, and at the time when you retired, you was one of the greatest home run hitters of all time. And since then, it came out that you was juicing on steroids. So now you don't seem so successful. You see what I'm saying? By the same token, like I was saying, if you deal with Marcus Garvey, within the time frame of his life, if you put that limitation of time on it, then yeah, you would think that he was a failure. But in reality, he planted the seeds, right, of a lot of things we're talking about right now. So you got to look at that as a fact too. That listen, it took us 1,000 years. It took us 1,000 years to get in this situation, at least. You know what I'm saying? Even if you want to give it conservative numbers, right? You've got to say at least between 1450, right? And right now is how long it took us to get to here. 1450 is when the Pope did his decree, right? That the Portuguese could go to Africa and take whatever slaves they wanted because they wasn't Christian. Dumb Diversus is the name of it, if anybody want to look that up, right? Since that time, we've been under military attack, medical attack, economic attack, educational attack. We've been under every form of attack, politically, every form of attack. So what I'm saying is that it's not going to be, we're going to protest 10 days. And, when we get over there, we're going to hit the switch. And then it's going to be freedom, justice, and equality. All of those things got to be dealt with internally and externally. See, because once you deal with that situation in the colored man, right, you got to destroy that devil within yourself, man. For some people, you got to destroy it before. But either way, it's going to have to be dealt with internally and externally in order to correct the situation. So a lot of times, when I see the different brothers, and they going back and forth, and this has always existed in our community, you know what I mean? Whether it's Booker T. Washington and W.E.B. Du Bois, or W.E.B. Du Bois and Marcus Garvey, or Malcolm and Martin, or Jesse Jackson and Farrakhan, or whatever. We always have this thing where we got the different sides, right? And what they see as the best way forward for us to get freedom, justice, and equality, right? We always have the different sides of people that's dealing with that. And it's in reality, no, we're gonna have to deal with all of that. Because all of that is a part of this. They got education said, remember the devil got so-called gods. Alfonso Brown, the Mythbuster. I've been running my mouth today. I gotta catch up. Hold on. Let me catch back up with y'all. They got education. So remember the devil got so-called gods who covered the day to keep us real ones frustrated and the weak ones misguided. Gotta keep your eyes on the prize. Silver Fox said 5%ers are not the Black Panthers. They are teachers. They are not ready to die. They are ready to teach. Well, some brothers died so that we could teach. You know what I mean? And I mean, see, for me, that's a very real thing. That's a very real thing. Now, look, Elijah taught Malcolm. Malcolm taught Allah. Allah taught Firstborn Prince. And Firstborn Prince taught me. Right? Now, Elijah, he got to live out his time in peace. You know what I'm saying? And, he passed away in tranquility. Right? Now, I'm still here. What do these three brothers right here have in common? What do these three brothers right here have in common? See, they all got murdered. See, they all gave their life, in some capacity or another for this right here. So that's a very real thing to me. See, even coming on here, making these videos or whatever, see, all of that's very real. So when you say they not ready to die, yeah, you may have a group of people, or you may have a new generation maybe now that's how it is. You know what I'm saying? But you can ask a guy education. Back in the time when you got it, that was one of the first things brothers let you know in the cipher, that this is not a game. It's brothers that have sacrificed their life and their freedom so that we could be here. You know what I'm saying? So that, when I came around and I walked in the most dangerous, crime-ridden parts of the city and say I'm a 5%, right? That's because of the sacrifice, man, that some other brothers did, man, before I even came into this. So I would tend to disagree with you on a whole, but it could be something that you're talking about, a perspective of people that, I don't interact with all the time, so I don't know that's their mentality. See, you got to know why Allah ruled. So if I said Panthers had agents and that's why they failed, circle wasn't tight. Guaranteed. No argument there. But look, there's agents all over. See, look, we got agents amongst them too. It's just like I said, see, sometimes the spook that's sitting by the door, he has to be awakened too. He has to be awakened to understand what he's sitting by that door for. King Shah came in and said, I came to take the devil off the planet. Right? And God said, I'm a 5 and ready to die, but more willing to teach. Know yourself, I know myself. Yeah, indeed. I mean, look, like I said, the first law of nature is self-preservation. You understand what I'm saying? So, you're not going to just do something dumb and suicidal. You know what I'm saying? But, look, when you go in the army, right? First, you got to go through, they got to test you. They give you academic tests, psychological tests, physical tests to make sure you healthy, strong, and good breeder and good at multiplying. See how good you are at multiplying. You're not that good at multiplying, we put you out there on the infantry, and tell you to charge. You are good at multiplying, okay, maybe we put you over here with some type of electronics. But when we come in here, we got to go through whole mental thing. When you, hold on. Peace. Yeah. All right. Knock on the door. You ready? Knock on. All right. Hold on. One second there. Okay. We are back. Let me catch back up. L7 says the devil civilization that's crumbling originally now worry, just unite and strategize. Right. See, that's what I'm saying. The elements of unity, you understand what I'm saying? Of being one mind. Like when you go there, right? When you go in the army and they show everybody how to march, where you marching in unison, you singing songs, where you singing in unison. You got to be one mind. You understand what I'm saying? When we learn all the orders, when we learn the language, like they got a particular language when they get on the walkie-talkie. You know, they don't just say ABC. You know, they got other names, you know, Adam, Beverly, you know, whatever they say. They don't say nine, they say niner. When you learning all of that, man, this is the steps and stages that we going through when we teaching. You know, this is not a waste of time. This is actually a whole part, probably the most important part. You know, anytime you're dealing with battle, you know, the preparation is the most important part. So, you know, don't take it for just talking, you know what I'm saying, unless that's the history you write by not following that talking up with no action. Seven fights. Real hip hop, yeah. You would have been you should have came in earlier. Maybe you could have built with Silver Fox. You know, like I said, you know, it's not so much his understanding of things, you know, to just be disagreeing with him, but it's just that, you know, then what is the plan? Because if you're saying that the devil is not reforming, you're saying that the guys is not ready, then, you know, by implication, you're saying that the devil cannot be defeated. You know, someone has to explain to me the perfection of devilishment. And you had to explain to me how devilishment got so perfect. You know, because I mean, this is just not, you know, for every, you know, move, for every attack, there's a counterattack. It's a matter of knowing what that counterattack is. Like I said, you know, like Agar was saying, you know, everybody being together and moving in unison on code. This is the this is the dangerous tactic to a small elite force. You know, and like I said, I'm not looking at it, you know, a lot of things to me, I need you to tell, like people keep saying you're not getting stuff from Alex Jones. But I don't know what you don't have no other thing. I'm saying that historically, why do you think the Americans had to leave Vietnam? Why do you think the French had to leave Vietnam? Why did this happen? Why did the Tsar of Russia lose his life? Why did the King of France lose his life? You know what I'm saying? You know, do you know, a lot of people talk about the Magna Carta when y'all start talking this crazy stuff. But do you know where the Magna Carta came from, like how it came into existence? You know, some of these things that you're saying, like I said, you know, if you know you got some type of force, you're doing what you're doing, that's one thing. Otherwise, I wouldn't leave the conversation because you know, more dialogue is needed. Alfonso Brown said there's too much focus on trying to change the mind and society of the devil and not enough focus on building solely with and for ourselves. You know, and Alfonso, one of the things that starts with, right, is understanding your power, right, and understanding the devil's power. See, if you look at the devil's power is way up here, and you look at our power is way down here, like, see, even when you say people not ready to die, you think, I mean, I don't know where you live at. You understand what I mean? But you think you're going to go down to Midtown Manhattan, you're going to go to the West Village, and you're going to find colored people that's ready to die? You know, these people will show up in the downtown area by the statue. You think they come in to South Central saying? You think they come in to Brooklyn North talking that? I don't care how many assault rifles they got. Do you really think they come into Newark, Detroit, Miami? Do you really think they come into these places and they are somehow more with the business? Even the people in the army ain't with the business that much. Calm Islam League. Knowledge born a lot. Larry says, so then is it that we need to build for ourselves communities and everything that we need so that we don't need to depend on them, or am I wrong? No, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. These, you know, of course, things start with education. We got to have people with all different types of skills in education. See what I'm saying? Everybody can't have a PhD in Africana studies. Some people have to study electrical engineering. Some people have to study civil engineering. Some people have to study agriculture and horticulture. This is how all the people come together for one common cause. You know what I'm saying? Like when you look at the city payroll, you know what I'm saying? You see different people, from people who come collect the garbage to people who make sure the water is supplied, people who make sure the food is supplied, people who make sure the streets are paved. All of these different things is how we begin to build a society, right? And show our civilization. See, that's one of the things that's getting ready to happen. It's getting ready to be a test of our civilization, our level of being civilized. See, right now, right, with all the stuff that's happening, right, one of the things that's going to happen before there's martial law, if that does come, before that happens, right, the police are gonna pull back and say, okay, y'all want to defund the police, y'all don't want us around. Okay, we're not gonna don't count on us no more. Somebody gets shot, we'll see you tomorrow. That's when we have to show our level that we civilized. And that when the people say that we need the police in order to keep, the police is a thin veneer between us and civilization. We got to show and prove that our civilization deals with knowledge, wisdom, understanding, culture, and refinement, and not being savages in the pursuit of happiness. But if we begin by not building no civilization for ourselves, then guess what? We automatically going to be forced into situations because now you starving. And then once you starving, you got to eat. You don't have the means of production because you didn't build it up for yourself. You going to end up telling lies, stealing, and trying to master somebody. So, true indeed, we have to show our level of civilization. We have to show that we are the fathers and mothers of civilization. See, just like right now, you the father and mother of children, you can have more children. So it's not just about, we the people, it was black people in Egypt, and it was black people in Samaria, and it was black people in Andalus. No. Right now, we got to show the level of civilization. Yeah, see, peace. That's another set. When you play with, Utah and Stump and all these different levels. Alfonso Brown said, I noticed a growing amount of so-called black police chiefs in our communities, but not enough brothers filling the ranks. Well, I don't know what they call that now. When I was younger, that was called tokenism, where we got these certain faces here, right? I think I do know the word that y'all call it now. We got these certain faces here, right, to show that we have diversity. We're a diverse force, because we have people in the leadership, but it's not really enough to affect the structure of what's going on. It's not enough to affect the structure of that institution or to affect the masses of original people. Because, it's not that we allowed in, it's that there's a token there. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of these people, in terms of what the brothers were saying earlier, L. Lowry and who's the other brother? His name it ends with VB. You know what I'm saying? And they was talking about how the Democrats, have a very insidious way of acting, of enacting the same standards. You understand what I mean? The same standards of oppression will be enacted, but just in a more euphemistic kind of way. You know what I'm saying? Where it's not as in your face what we're doing. We're gonna disguise it in a form of help. You understand what I'm saying? As in an example, Bill Gates. We're gonna give you vaccinations that's gonna save your life and everything, but we're also sterilizing you. So Alfonso Brown, I would say not just the police chiefs, But as you look at a lot of these places, Baltimore, Atlanta, not to the same degree, but New York a little bit, Detroit, LA a little bit, you understand what I'm saying? Where you see that the political structure is original people. And in some of these places, they've been original people for a century almost in some of these places. You know, maybe not the mayors and police chief, but they've been the city council people and the local senators and assemblymen for decades. And these are some of the places where we exist in the worst conditions. So yeah, we all taking note of that as well, Alfonso Brown. The bar said only a few go up in ranks to my knowledge. Carmen's Longley said it's about to be another John Muhammad sniper type militant targeting police officers specifically. Listen, you know, when officers get shot, I tell them the statistics. You know, they got statistics on that. That if you carry a gun, you're more likely to get shot. They carry guns every day. $793 said the picture of Fred Hampton's house after the raid is another one of their versions of Emmett Till open casket pick his mother demanded be taken. Right. And that's what I'm saying, that we in another time right now where these things are being exposed. You know what I'm saying? In a different form. You know, it's not by the parents now, you know, because we got all these different forms of media right now and different forms of how we can communicate, you know, from person to person. So yeah, these things are getting exposed. You know, that's what we had a live a couple of days ago. I said, yo, the devil is really being exposed right here. And see, that's part and part. That's what I'm saying. The devil being exposed is not a part of Yaqub's plan. That does not date back to Yaqub. Remember, death to anyone that revealed the secret. So if you got all this stuff that's being exposed, you know, I mean, maybe they adjusted it. Maybe this is something that's not mentioned in the lesson. But the stuff that is mentioned in the lesson would contradict that that's his plan. Yeah, mathematics. How you gonna put a page for? You put a page for a couple of days. Put my band up here. See, I keep forgetting that I'm a horrible broadcaster. Larry says, so then we must take what's inside of us to create our own environment for success. Indeed. Because it's definitely not going to come from the ideas and images that is put out there about us. You understand what I'm saying? The ideas and the images that we see on TV, you know, especially depending on the person's mentality. You know what I'm saying? It all depends on the person's mentality. Like, you know, Daryl Gates saw what happened to Rodney King and said, well, he's in control of this beatdown. You know what I'm saying? You know, whether it's, you know, Ahmaud Arbery, you know, when he tries to grab the weapon, you know, they use that to say that he attacked the guy. And see, that's believable to them because of the image that they've had for so many years. It's so disappointing right now to a lot of people in society because of the image that they've had of police all these years. So we definitely gonna have to come with the idea from within ourselves, or within our community. The boss said the first Juneteenth Tea Party done by Black people in Galveston a few years after the 1860s, General Order 3 spoke about us voting or forming our own communities to improve our conditions post-slavery. Years later, we had Black Wall Street. This reminds me of the lesson of us taking advantage of our situation for the future. By the way, it was a picnic party, not a tea party. Um, you know, uh, we can learn a lot from those brothers. You know what I'm saying? In terms of the type of mentality that they had, right, of doing for self. And also, when we crying, woe is me, yo, the devil got all this power and he's surveilling us. And, think of what those brothers had to overcome to actually build societies, right, that was, greater socially and economically than the white societies that they left behind as slaves. We talking about brothers who couldn't read, couldn't write, a lot of things that we take for granted right now. Those brothers not only had to overcome the Caucasian, they had to overcome so many more things about their condition. And I'm not saying that we don't have things and they haven't adjusted it and they took the chains off the body, put it on the mind, understand all that. But I'm saying that they overcame. In that time, that was the greatest of oppression. See, they had to depend on their own mental picture because the mental picture that was being given to them certainly didn't say, yeah, you could go build Black Wall Street. You gotta look at what those brothers was able to accomplish in 10 years. If they got out of slavery in 1865, by 1875, they got it popping. They got towns all over the country. So we definitely need to look at that, not just for inspiration, but for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding too. L7 said learning how to use one's hard-earned cash would be a righteous tool against oppression as well. Yeah, that's definitely something we're gonna have to master. That's something that the brothers in that time was able to master. Understanding, what's the difference, what is capital? Capital is money that you use to make other money with. There's a lack of knowledge of what capital is. Capital, it could be goods too. Capital could be, like land. Land was the first capital because all of this was born in an agrarian society. So understanding that there's a difference between going out to spend hundreds of dollars on something that can make you money, right? As opposed to going out to spend hundreds of dollars for something that, you're going to wear for a couple of months is That's highly imperative. You know, understanding the differences between, being a landowner, and just being on the land. Universal Truth said, voting is a tool. It's a tool. I think that, in terms of voting, and even economic things, those are like temporary things. Those are not going to ultimately, you're not going to vote all the white people out of office one day and then it's going to go to be. You understand what I'm saying? Before that happens, there'll be a civil war that destroys the political structure. Before they let you earn enough money with their face on it to take them out, they'll crash the system. However, in the meantime, you're right. Those are tools that we use, right, to improve our condition and put us in a better position for what ultimately could bring about freedom, justice, and equality. Asiatic mathematics said if you take the devil off the planet, won't he just come back when a new scientist decide he wants to make another one? Well, you can get rid of the devil. You're not going to get rid of devilish mint. You can get rid of the colored man. It's one of those things where you got to understand this. Somebody said this in the what's the name? That you could be a good cop, right? You could be a good cop, but you're still working for and within, right? And being a shield for a system that's unjust.
It's 7 o'clock.
See, the system itself is unjust. And so everybody who's living within that system, right, isn't necessarily dealing with injustice. See, but what happens when we reverse the polarity? Where, yeah, you a devil, but you live in a system of righteousness. See, the amount of impact that your devilishment can have now is totally different. Yeah, SWR. Listen. I got this question too, man. We having a little bit of defeatist rhetoric. And to me, it's at a time when, listen, man. I mean, things are going our way. I don't know how y'all brothers would have reacted. In the 50s, or in the 1800s. Like I said, you got to look inside yourself a lot more, than you looking outside at what everybody else is doing. Justice Bourne came in. Great elevation. Yeah, listen, I'm trying to refrain because I got Crying Jordan in Yeah, I got crying Jordan in the queue, but I don't want to. I don't want to pull him up. 'Smell good. You like that little statistic, huh? Seven said, build on how things can be made other than itself. What do you mean? Like they were made deaf, dumb, and blind by the devil when they were babies? When the thing is serving its divine purpose, it does so in spite of what another thing's agenda is. So this is what you're talking about. Well, they were made deaf, dumb, and blind by the devil when they were babies. Like this is the point that you're making, that you're saying to expand on. I'm asking. You know, sometimes I'm just as dumb as I look. You know, you ask a question, I really don't understand. You know, I find a lot of people think I'll be playing with them. Nah, I really don't know what you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I'm just dumb as I look. You know what I'm saying? So really, we kind of transitioned already. I was hoping Supreme Man came in because he was saying that he had some other information on some things, right? But kind of when we get into these ideas, you know what I'm saying? How many people paid attention to Trump's police reform? Asiatic mathematics. We're going to get into this topic that you're talking about because there's a lot of science in that. But you know, y'all gonna get me into a side rally. Y'all gonna get me into a side rally. So I'm gonna let y'all deal with that today. But bring that up. Bring this up on a Chris. Big Christy. Bring this up on a. Hey, you got some iced tea with you?
Some liquor in it too.
But yeah, though, that's a topic that's very interesting. We need to get into that. You know what I mean? What does taking the devil off our planet mean? You know, who makes it into the hereafter, and how do they make it into the hereafter? SW said it's the freeing of the dome or the mind. Vincier Art Maury, you new to the group. Where you from, Vincier? Welcome to the channel. Vincier said we must acknowledge that the job of the police is a tremendously difficult one, but still there can be no room in their ranks for bad policemen or policewomen for that matter. So you would have to break this down for me when you say that the police have a tremendously difficult job. It don't look that hard to read. You know, you bust some heads, and then you write down that they deserved it. What's so hard about that? And they pay you. So which part of the job is difficult for police? And you know, that's just something I have a problem with too. Like people, you talking about all this altruistic stuff that you're doing, and you get paid. Hey, dude, you getting paid. If it was that hard and you really was that much with it, let me see you do the job if they don't pay you. See, if you really was in it just for the love of the people in the community, why do they go on strike? Because they want money. You can fool some of the people some of the time. Rashard said, yes, the abuses of the police should always be highlighted and aggressively and vigorously dealt with through the courts and through administrative action when appropriate. But I have to ask, why do these racial incidents always seem to happen in cities and states that are firmly under the control of Democrats, sometimes for decades? Atlanta has been controlled by a Democrat mayor since 1855, with just a few exceptions. Listen, we're no friend of the Democrat on this channel. You know what I'm saying? We actually just spoke on this. Like a few minutes before you came in, or before I saw you right here, I was speaking on how you see this in Baltimore, Detroit, Atlanta, to some degree in New York. You know what I'm saying? We only have one black mayor, you know what I'm saying? But a lot of, the city council and everything is original people, you know what I'm saying? And we dealt with what's called tokenism. Deer Park, that's good water. All right, now see, Vincier, you said how old are you, Vincier? Right, but how old are you, Vincier? I'm saying, in my opinion, that type of aspect has started to be dealt with now by a younger generation. You know what I'm saying? Older generations, after Dwight Eisenhower, Dwight Eisenhower, who was a Republican. Okay, so you're in your 50s, so you know what tokenism is. You know what tokenism is? People who have been appointed into a certain position for appeasement. This is one of the main aspects of government that we have right now. This is one of the aspects that was born out of the monarch system, where when you had the monarch system, right, the people had no recourse. You know what I'm saying? Because you wasn't even the same type of people. The kings and the noble, those were the noble people and the royal people, and you was just a commoner. And so that was one of the first things that happened over in England, right? When they had the Magna Charta and all that, was that, okay, now we're going to allow some of the common people, some of the people outside of the king, right, to be in here and vote with us. Knowing all the while that we still control the entire system. But we set up these certain tokens right here to appease the people, to make them feel that they have some type of recourse. You see what I'm saying? So when you look at it, a lot of these cities, right, they got black mayors, right? They got black mayors after the riots in the 60s. So that now, just like, look, that's what happened with Obama. When he got in office, a lot of black people felt like, well, let's not agitate too much right now. Because, we don't want to give the brother a hard time. He's one of us. We don't want to give him a hard time. Whereas other groups was like, nah, we got somebody in there that see things the way we seen it. We step into the A and this our time. You know what I'm saying? So that's a phenomenon. Now, another thing that you got mixed up in there, Vince here, right? When you started to talk about places like St. Louis, Missouri, right? That's the good old boy Democrats. That's the good old boy network. The Southern Democrats. I think what do they call them? The Blue Dogs. The Blue Dogs. Where they still got a lot of socially conservative ideas. You know what I'm saying? And how they choose to deal with white people and black people is different. $793. So the hardest part is being a decent public servant, getting in and knowing the communities they work in to avoid issues down the line. If you know parents, family members, and leaders, one call can de-escalate situations. Yeah. But like I said, that's if they're a spook who know which door they're supposed to be sitting by. See, a lot of spooks is sitting by our door. They don't realize you're supposed to be sitting by their door. Right, Vince here, most of these cities have Democratic mayors and Democrat-controlled city council, right? But how they got there, the story of how they got there is different. I'm sure you older than me, that there's a group of brothers and sisters, right? That's, they probably at least 65 now, you know what I'm saying, that participated in the civil rights movement in the 50s and 60s. People that's like 65 and up. People that experienced Jim Crow firsthand. And those people have an allegiance to the Democratic Party, right? But I'm saying that as original people, the fact that Trump is in office right now because Hillary Clinton could not depend on that usual black demographic to boost her into the White House. So I'm agreeing with you, but I'm saying, are you also seeing that there's starting to be a shift in that dynamic? Amongst all the people. This is why somebody like Bernie Sanders, right, could come to a lot more power today, or a lot of the people, the AOCs, the people who they're outside of the box politically. They don't fit neatly in the Democrat box or neatly in the Republican box. These are the people that started to appeal to the hearts and minds of the younger people. Some of what you're saying is actually a part of the brainwashing. You know, like we don't want to get into the chicken and the egg, but the reason why a lot of these cities are Democrat controlled is because the Democrats have original people in the pocket. You know, since John Kennedy. It says that I think the Dems destroyed the black community with legislation that incentivized single parent families and removed black fathers from the family. And we agree with you 100% in this room over here on this channel, Vince here. You know, in 1865, slavery moved from overt to covert. In 1965, oppression moved from overt to covert. And the Democrats just have better covert tactics. You see what I'm saying? See, because, you know, this is something I said on this channel before, I say it again right now, right? Is that probably the main mode, right? Right, 1994 crime bill, but yeah, listen, we call him Joe, lock him up and throw away the key Biden on this channel. You know what I'm saying? But see, that's what I'm saying. That's a covert means, right? Is that we can't just openly oppress you, right? So now we're going to give you a faulty educational system, right? And we're going to warehouse you in the penitentiaries now. You know what I'm saying? Not only that, but we're gonna solve our recession. You see what I'm saying? Because remember, all of this is happening at the same time. The white community is in a recession in the 60s because the war economy from World War II is ending, right? You got the Vietnam War that they send the money to, right? And they expanded welfare and social security, a lot of benefits that they was voted on in the 30s and the 40s. The payouts started coming in the 60s. See what I'm saying? So they was having a recession, and that was one of the things that they wanted to do. They wanted to get into the black community's economics. You know what I'm saying? There was always, you know, in every community, in every city, you know, you had the white side of the tracks and the black side of the tracks. And the black side of the tracks had started accumulating money because of segregation. Because of segregation, we wasn't allowed to spend money really outside our community, so the money continued to circulate inside our community. See what I'm saying? So, in order to solve that problem, that was one of the tactics that they did. We're going to give you a subpar educational system, right? Then we're going to lock you up so we can warehouse you, keep our problem away from us, and we're going to give money to the white people in these small communities, right? Because at the same time, you got industrial farming taking off. So in places all upstate New York, I can't tell you the story of every state, but in upstate New York, a lot of these people are losing their farms. You got outsourcing is already starting to happen. So a lot of these people are losing their factory jobs. How are we going to deal with that unemployment? We're going to pay these people to be correctional officers. You know, this is the type of methods that Democrats devise. See, Democrats oppress you by giving you stuff. They give you stuff, and then the stipulations on the stuff destroys your life. And so that's kind of the two, just in general, that's how they deal with black women. They destroy black women by giving them stuff that's not really worth nothing. And the stipulations on that stuff destroys their life. You understand what I'm saying? They destroy the black man by taking everything from him and putting him in a desperate situation where he ends up destroying his life. You see what I'm saying? And this kind of goes into what you were saying about the single parenthood. Is now you have a black man and a black woman who they under separate attacks. So it leads to a misunderstanding. You understand what I'm saying? About how unity should go and, you know, who's supporting, you know, is there support from this one? Is there support from that one? You know, because there's not a firm understanding, right? That we under separate attacks. And when we that misunderstanding leads to a separation amongst us. Let me get back. I see you made quite a few comments here. Miss here. Let me catch up with you. Okay, so you said, look at the ground we lost. In the 1890s, there were 4 public high schools in Washington, D.C., 1 black, the M Street School, Dunbar High School, and 3 white. In 1899, Dunbar averaged higher standardized test scores than students in 2 of the 3 white schools. From 1870 to 1955, Dunbar repeatedly equaled or exceeded performance on national standardized tests. Every census from 1890 to 1950 showed that the black labor force participation rates were higher than those of whites. Prior to the 1960s, the unemployment rate for black 16 and 17-year-olds was under 10%. Before 1960, the number of teenage pregnancies had been decreasing. Both poverty and dependency were declining, and black income was rising in both absolute and relative terms to white income. In 1965, 76.4% of black children were born to married women. Supreme Divine came in. We need to reject democratic policies and rebuild strong black families. I mean, check down the line. you know, I'm with you on all of that. You know, Smell Good said his dad went to Easton and graduated from Dunbar in DC. You know, I'm 100% with you on that. You know, one major factor in that is you know, we had our own teachers. You know, we had our own people teaching us in a lot of these, you know, black schools that you're talking about that was going on back then. You know, but the things that you're saying is what I say all the time in terms of that's why we got to have an agenda with this thing right here. You know what I'm saying? Because even if you look at the times you mentioned, right? You went from 1865, you know, up, you know, the 1890s, 1965. These was different times when we achieved different levels of integration. we achieve different levels of integration without having an agenda, right, about what that looked like, without having an agenda, without saying that, okay, well, this is the standard right here. Like, this is the test. Like, nobody was looking at that. You see what I'm saying? And something else you brought up, right? Tokenism. Tokenism makes people forget about that. See, because even though we doing terrible in high schools, the masses.
The guy in the wheelchair who used to drive the bus, big dude.
Divine.
Yeah. The one from when he contributed to the cookout. Seems like for opportunity. All right. Peace. Sorry.
The masses, we're willing to allow the masses to be failures because they give us Obama. You know what I'm saying? When they tell you about all this black exceptionalism, oh, well, there's this many black millionaires, right? That's what makes people forget all those statistics that you put in there, Vincier. This is what, at the end of the day, right? We can have what you saying, Vincier, or we can have Oprah. We traded that in for a few brothers to be able to say they the first black billionaires. A few brothers and sisters. That's what that tokenism does. You understand what I'm saying? So forget about your problems and live vicariously through these couple of rich Negroes. So that's why this stuff that we've been speaking on this channel is about, okay, if we saying police reform, what does police reform mean? We need to have that agenda. You know what I'm saying? Look, when we say we want to reform the education system, right? Those statistics that you brought up, Vincier, those are statistics that need to be brought up. No, we need to get back like this right here. We need to get back to, we passing the standardized tests at the exceptional rate. But that's what how you see that a lot of those things that you said is great for all of us as a people, that we've allowed ourselves to kind of fall into this black exceptionalism thing, right? Where it's like, we forget about our individual condition and we just always celebrate these talented 10th people. Vincier said the social safety net should be hand up, not a trap that locks you into permanent poverty. That's the thing about the safety net. It stops you from going too low, but it also stops you from going too high. Yeah, fuck, that's good. The bar said the devil gives us a cookie. I mean, pretty much. Universal Truth said it ain't about how many millionaires there are in the world, it's about how many millionaires there are in your family. Vincier said we can build it back, but we need to focus on legislation that creates jobs, allows people to go to better schools, provides them opportunities to improve themselves, their families, and their communities. I mean, now, just staying with what you said, right? I think the focusing on legislation might be a double-edged sword again. You know what I'm saying? Meaning, that's how we got caught up with the Democrats in the first place. Is focusing on legislation. So, even if we did that, right, we have to keep in mind all those very important points that you made. That's now learning material. That's learning material where you've gone through the whole cycle with that stuff. Meaning, we know where we was, we know that there was legislation, and then we know where we at right now. So the whole way we go into dealing with this legislation, Vince here, right, needs to be with a mindset, right, of we know what happened last time. And we're not going to fall for the okie doke again. You see what I'm saying? So, that's what I'm saying. Now, how does that look? Does that mean that we got to vote for some Republicans too in order to get them to balance the scales? Or, deal with a topic we was dealing with yesterday where, I say that, look, voting and this type of stuff, that's retail politics. By the time you get to the retail end, all the prices are already set. We got to get more into the resource level of manufacturing in general. Whatever it is in the society, whether it's physical goods or whether it's politics, we got to get to the level where we the ones that's educating the people. Meaning this is what I'm saying. Right now, a lot of the political thought, right, it comes from people's college professors. So you have a certain group of people, right, that for the most part share ideologies that work on the college level. And they're producing people of certain ideologies, right, that they send out into the world. So see, actually educating the people, actually saying that, okay, we're going to put a scholarship, right, for a child that might want to explore political science. Or you want to study political science? Okay, we'll give you a scholarship. You see what I'm saying? To where, like right now, Trump he's not really beholden to a lot of economic interests because they didn't give him no money for his campaign. But he's got certain ideological people that he's close with, you understand what I mean, that is a part of his worldview, the worldview that he was raised in, right, that he's not going to betray them. You see what I'm saying? For instance, Obama was not really from our worldview. He didn't grow up like any of us. You understand what I'm saying? So he wasn't gonna be able to see what we see about what legislative changes need to be made. You see what I'm saying? Smell good. See, the question is, that's a $1 million question. Where do you want to be when you grow up? See, we got to start getting to that level and then supporting these kids as they go up. So now they know where they came from when they get in office, right? I mean, they're going to do what they're going to do, but we have a little more of an idea that this person is not going to be beholden to the Democratic Party solely, because the Democratic Party is who got them in office. Beyond the retail level, yeah, we the people they dependent to come out and vote, but they got to get the money to run the ads and all of this stuff and put the flyers up from the Democratic Party. So then they have to toe the party line. You understand what I'm saying? When we the ones that's actually putting up the money for the campaigns. See what I'm saying? when you have a dinner at your house, right? When you have a dinner at your house and you charge X amount for the plates, right? And then you give it to the person for their campaign. See, those are the people that could call the president. Like I remember when they said Mark Zuckerberg, he called Obama, he was going down there and talking to him. Like, wait, hold on. How you get Obama's number? how you got Obama's number and I ain't got it? You see, that's the type of power you have when you at the higher echelons of dealing with it. You understand what I'm saying? So Vince here said opportunity zones with forgivable grants to entrepreneurs, school vouchers, tort reform, elimination of regulations that create barriers to gaining access to the marketplace, and elimination of civil forfeiture, to name a few ideas. So you've been thinking about this, Vince here. So in the spectrum, right, of people that they want freedom, justice, and equality, you know what I'm saying, for our people, they out there fighting in different ways, right? Are you in the political, I guess you could say political camp, or the economics camp? But I will say this though, Vince here. A lot of these things that you name here, you know, they good. I'm not saying they bad, but I think they don't go far enough. Like they don't go far enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, uh, you know, forgivable grants. But it's still a grant, you know, you're still gonna have that ceiling of what they want to give you. You know what I'm saying? School vouchers, but to what schools? You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, apparently, just like what you say, right? Remember, those separate but unequal schools, right? Clearly, they was better for us. Or that's what it would appear, you know, based on the statistics that you named about how well Black students did in academics before integration. Goodness. L7 said that was my point on their pile of tricks, politics. We definitely have to. We definitely got to engage in that at a higher level. Sincere must be writing quite a response here. Well, here you go. I think equal access, or maybe even for time, unequal access to capital and education to level the playing field and right the wrongs are game changers. I mean, I agree with you. It's just that, in general, when it comes to this point of view, right? This type of point of view, I don't have very much confidence, right, in the humanity of colored people. You know, and there does seem to be a glass ceiling right there. You know, at least for the older generations. You know, of course, the younger generations, they still got their history to live out. But for the older generations, uh, you know, they'll sympathize with our problems. You know, but see, you ain't getting no money back. You know, when it gets to that level, like as long as we just talking about, you know, do I feel bad? You know, will we march? Will we march with you? Will we write our congressman? But as soon as it gets to a point where there's going to be a dent in white privilege, then this is where I lose confidence in the humanity of colored people. So when we say equal access or unequal access, I mean, you know, America is not even America once you do that. You know, do you think that there's a way that that can happen, Vincier? Do you think there's a way for that to happen without a new group of people coming into the country that we both oppressing? Or that, you know, everybody that's here now is oppressing because that's just a part of capitalism. Is that there has to be some people on the bottom, you know, and being that you don't want that to rotate, you know, if you ever get to the top, you don't want to find yourself back on the bottom. So now you have to control the people that's on the bottom to keep them there. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that level of humanity where they say that, okay, listen, you know, if we got to give up some of ours so that you can have some, so be it. I don't have very much confidence in that. And Sia said that humanity was lost over decades. It can be regained. You just need to break the cycle. Some people will unfortunately be left behind, but one family and one community at a time would be a good start. Well, whose humanity are you talking about? You know, like if you're talking about our humanity as a you know a community, you know, in terms of different things, different morals and standards, for instance, that you was talking about that existed in our community in the in the 1800s and the early 1900s, right? And how a lot of that's been lost. Yeah, that degree of humanity, I think, can come back. But I'm saying I don't know if humanity ever existed on that level amongst colored people, because they didn't treat each other humanely in Europe. All in the business said we're so humane. Some of us allow people to beat and kill us and still march for peace. Yeah. Have you seen how many different instances, right, where the people that was protesting, like somebody came out there to start trouble with them, and the people that was protesting saved the person who was supposed to get their ass kicked. I saw that quite a few times. It's here. You need to click the link so you can come on the live. Where's real hip hop? I would like to hear what real hip hop has to say about this topic right here too. See, I like talking to real hip hop because he's a young brother. He got a whole perspective on reality that I like to hear. Community, people tend to live up to expectations of their communities. That could be a fact. Something is still gonna have to mark that time, though. Something is still gonna have to mark that time. Maybe it's one of those things been said too where it just has to reach a critical mass. Like one of the things we've been discussing on this channel is how, through music, even the music from the 60s, the Motowns and all of that, but then even more so with hip hop, right? A lot of white kids have grown up knowing what our situation is. Like they've grown up with our music, hearing the conditions and the predicaments that we got to live through. And that's one of the things that's, making them be one mind in terms of, listen, we're not going to be going for black people to get killed like that. So it's possible that, I'm just a little bit too old to see it because, I grew up with people who, they wasn't yet a part of our culture in that way. That type of informative kind of way. So it's possible as we continue to have more and more impact on the mainstream society. See, because even in the 60s, Motown was huge for us. You know what I'm saying? But that's not what most white people is listening to. But see, with hip hop became the mainstream music where everybody listened to it. I gotta find out what the real hip hop. Must be on a lag today or something. Is that it, Vince here? You still never told us where you from, Vince here. Virginia. All right. What part? You in Richmond? We got a couple people from Richmond that come in here regularly. Just outside of Richmond. All right. Well, welcome to the channel. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate your perspective. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully you will continue to join us. You know what I'm saying? Other than that, we had a good live stream again today. You know what I'm saying? Everybody that made it this far with me, do the each one teach one. Hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Tomorrow is Thursday, right? I lose track of the days of the week. We're gonna have to do man, I want to get some things done this week. We're gonna have to schedule another meeting for the Random Jewels Investment Fund, because we need to move forward on some things with that and take advantage of some opportunities to do some real teaching right now. So I gotta set that up. This weekend got a little bit hectic. You know, we had the event over here at a large school. But everybody keep their heads up for that meeting right there. We're gonna have to do that. And other than that, I guess I'll see y'all Friday now. Let Sunyez do his thing. You know, Sunyez is on Sunyez 7 right here on YouTube. I see him now. He's on. He broadcasts on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram now. So Sunyez will be doing his thing tomorrow. I'll be falling back, and I'll see y'all on Friday. Supreme Man. Peace to God. All my conscientious observers that's in the background, peace to y'all too.